Rockies are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Time to go upon further review, go a little bit deeper about what the film said about the 49ers versus the Arizona Cardinals. And there was a lot to like, right? I mean, just watching that game, you had a good feeling about how the 49ers went about their business and got a big divisional win. And with it comes a 7-4 record and an opportunity at the playoffs. 85% chance of making the playoffs now for the 49ers, and it's because they went in and took care of business. Now, if you watch this film and then you look at the numbers, you're going to see a discrepancy, right? Some of the things that the 49ers did and put on film are a little bit different than how the stats are going to show up. Like, first off, the 49ers didn't even get over 300 yards of offense. That alone, it should show you that they didn't really move the ball up and down the field. Now, when you get a little bit more into it, you see that they had a lot of short fields because of turnovers and mistakes by the Arizona Cardinals. That plays into it. Now, it wasn't all Arizona beating Arizona. They did do that, but the 49ers made the plays that they needed to make, whether that was a third down tackle on 3rd and 8 to hold them to 6, or if that was a Deommodore Lenoir or a Malik Mustafa interception. But what you find when you go into the film that the numbers don't provide is play-to-play breakdown of what happened for each player and each group, right? Each position group. And I thought that there were some things that stood out. There's always the positives that we talked about, especially yesterday in our Stock Up 49ers video. You talked about, hey, these things are going well. This is really helping your football team. And then when you look at the upon further review, you're going to find things that hold up. The things you saw live on the TV copy that hold up when you look at the breakdown of the film. But you're also going to see some things that are concerning, some tell the truth moments. That's what we used to talk about when I was working with my kids that I coached was, hey, it's time to tell the truth. And it's not easy for a high school kid to hear the things that they're doing wrong. You have to mix in, of course, the positive statements, and that's always what you do. You just evaluate it play by play, the good and the bad. But those are honest conversations you have to have because you have to improve consistently. You also have to know what your weaknesses are. So that way you can, number one, as a coaching staff, try to put the player in the best situation to overcome that weakness, but also try to improve it through practice and working on it. So there's a lot of different things that you can come from watching film. And what I found was there was some things in this that when it came to coaching points, definitely stuck out. Some of them very good, for the 49ers. Some of them that they could build on moving forward. And then some that kind of make you ask some questions about what the 49ers need to do. The one thing I know that they need to do is continue to score points on offense. They need the special teams to continue to evolve and be able to give short fields and help out this football team. And they also just need the defense to provide a little bit more here and there. And we're going to talk about the defense. We're going to talk about the offense all in this episode as we go upon further review of the 49ers versus Cardinals. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is the title sponsor of 49ers Cutback. So let's get into the notes. And I want to start with the offensive line, because you've probably heard me over the last few weeks talk about the importance of Spencer Burford and now the importance of Ben Bartch. And there are plenty of plays in this game where Spencer Burford and Ben Bartch don't live up to a starting left guard caliber offensive line play. And then there are plenty of plays where they do. And what I want to emphasize, because you're going to see all kinds of highlights this week of Ben Bartch getting pushed back and it not allowing Brock Purdy the time to find Ricky Pearsall in the end zone for a touchdown, and he ends up getting sacked. Like, that is real. That happened. Ben Bartch, he got overpowered, he got walked back, and Brock Purdy couldn't step into the throw. He didn't have enough time. That occurred. There are plays where Ben Bartch and Spencer Burford don't hold on to their blocks in the run game, and their guy disengages and is able to make a tackle. Those are true. But what you're getting, and this is something that all offensive line coaches talk about, is more consistency. You just want more consistency. You don't need every single play to be perfect because you can't have every single play perfect. One of the most over evaluated things is is pressures that an offensive lineman gives up. It's really difficult to not give up two or three pressures in a game when you're going against the caliber of defensive linemen that you face every single week in the NFL. Like, that is tough work and tough sledding. And if you look at the numbers, Ben Barch gave up one pressure. Spencer Burford gave up one pressure. So you see these plays, and yes, it's highlighted. They come in bad situations where you could have had a touchdown to Ricky Pearsall. So it wasn't a good job for Ben Barch on that one. He couldn't anchor enough. But what I do like is the fact that you're getting more consistency. They make, two or three extra plays per game in the run game than you were getting from Connor Kobe. Those things adds up. That's another 15 to 20 yards potentially. You get, two or three better pass protections than you were getting before. Those things adds up. Those are the times Brock Purdy can find George Kittle down the field or Ricky Pearsall or Jawan Jennings. So what you're getting right now is a little bit more consistency from the left guard position, and it's showing up in the film that we see week to week. I like this rotation. I hope the 49ers keep the rotation. The 30 snaps for Spencer Burford, the 30 snaps for Ben Barch, I thought did a really good job of kind of keeping these guys comfortable, healthy, fresh as this game goes on. And that's going to be very important. And Burford has worked well in a rotation before. What he did his rookie season when he rotated in and out with Daniel Brunskill, I thought was very beneficial for him. And Ben Barch, we haven't seen it, but I think so far it's worked out for this football team. And both of them have their strengths and their weaknesses, that's for sure. But the 49ers are able to use it. Now, one position that I do have a real concern about is center. And, I think this has been a hot button conversation for a long time. Is Jake Brendel good enough to be a starting center in the NFL? And I think that he's proven to be a fringe starter. I think a lot of times you look at him and the things that he does well, and it definitely adds up to fitting within Kyle Shanahan's system. And I'll explain just for a second. Jake Brendel, one of the things he does well is he's very cerebral. He usually understands what he's looking at when it comes to defensive alignment and also simulated pressures. He does a good job of moving the offensive line left or right with slide protections, being able to pick up on who's coming and who's not, which is very important because it can put you in prime position to be able to pick up those guys. Now, just like everybody in the NFL and every offensive lineman, no matter how good you are, whether you're an all-pro or you're a fringe starter, you're going to have mistakes. And Jake Brendel sometimes, he gets caught in simulated pressures. It happened in this one, and it freed up Calais Campbell to go one-on-one with Christian McCaffrey. Now, McCaffrey picked him up, but those are some of the examples that you see sometimes. But I think in that area, he's very strong, the cerebral part of the game. The other area he's typically very strong is getting to second level, using his athleticism, which is elite for an offensive center in the NFL, to get to the second level and at least make contact with that guy. Now, he's not always the best at sustaining the block, but getting to the guy initially and making a block and holding it long enough, might only be a tick or two enough to get Christian McCaffrey by, he can typically do. I think that really Jake Brendel hasn't looked the same since he came back from his injury. I thought that the beginning of the season, he was a little bit stronger. It looked like he was playing a lot better. I was actually saying, hey, he's a lot more consistent. He's making some of the plays that we're expecting. And we've seen a little bit of a downtrend. And I think that since he came back from injury, I don't think he's outplayed Matt Hennessy. I think Matt Hennessy was putting together better film than Jake Brendel. And I wanted to keep an open mind, but I saw in this game Jake Brendel not blocking the guy that he's supposed to on the second level, missing Cody Simon, the linebacker, Trent Williams giving him an earful afterwards. He just didn't block anyone on the play. I think that, those types of things are inexcusable because as an offensive lineman, you know which guy you're supposed to get, number one. Number two, if you don't get that guy on the initial, stretch when you're running out there vertically to get to him, then you continue to follow him. And that's one of the things I gave Jake Brendel praise for earlier in the year at some of the plays I broke down early on in the season where he's following the guy, and eventually McCaffrey's going to cut off his block, and then he makes his block. And we didn't see that from Jake Brendel. He's kind of looking around a little bit in this game. So it saw it a little bit last week, saw it some more this week, and I think it's a little bit concerning because as the play is upticking from left guard, you're seeing Trent Williams play a lot better. Trent Williams now has consistency next to him, so that helps. But I expected Jake Brendel to also take a little bit of a step forward, and he's not really doing that. Like, I'll give you guys an example. Everyone probably remembers the play that Moose Johnston brought up that you're going to get Spencer Burford picking up Budda Baker on the blitz, and he picks him up. He comes off the block. Well, he's supposed to help Jake Brendel, and Jake Brendel is in a double team. Yes, he knows he's got Spencer Burford for help, but he gets himself so out of position that once Burford has to come off to pick up Budda Baker, he completely gets thrown to the ground. He had worked himself too far upfield and was really putting no effort into it. He was letting Spencer Burford do all the work as far as the movement. He did a great job initially. I'll give him credit. He was getting some movement initially, but once Burford got in contact with him, he kind of just went into cruise control. And unfortunately, when Burford came off, which was a great play by Burford, Brendel wasn't prepared to continue that block. And so that is another instance that we're seeing. So Jake Brendel right now, I think, is a little bit inconsistent with the things that are supposed to be strengths for him. You understand if he gets beat a little bit when it comes to pass protection, he doesn't have that anchor. He doesn't have lead in his pants to be able to sit there and take those guys on, which we've seen him struggle with a little bit against some of the bigger interior defensive linemen. But in this case, he should have been able to hold up in that area. But really, he's got to excel in the areas that they are paying him to excel in. That's second level blocks. That's maintaining those blocks when he gets on them. And I think we're seeing too many of them right now that he's not doing a good job at. So I don't know what Chris Foerster is going to do. I think he's going to stick with Jake Brendel. Maybe he's going to try to see if he can work this thing out. But right now, I think Matt Hennessy played better. I think that there were a game or two where, Hennessy struggled a little bit here and there, but I thought his last game that he put on film, it was real consistent. And so I think that the 49ers do have a question mark when it comes to the center position. I think left guard starting ironing itself out. It's still not all the way there, but I think center is a question mark, and it has been. And I think it was concerning in this game. Now, right tackle is nothing new. Colton McKivitz absolutely handles business in run blocking. He does a very good job, and he was very good in this game, run blocking, putting guys on the ground, doing his job, being effective, getting out there on second level blocks. Colton McKivitz does really well in that area. The problem for Colton McKivitz is he runs into an issue when he goes against a guy that's got a good speed rush, a guy that can line up out wide in a wide 9 and really bring pressure off the edge. He can't get quite out there in his slide enough to be able to cut them off. And then when he gets his hands on them, they have been able to take wrist control, get his hands off of them, and work up to the quarterback. And that play that that I was talking about earlier, where Brock Purdy can't step into a throw because Ben Bartch is getting pushed back, that's when he gets sacked by Josh Sweat off the edge. And Sweat was able to beat Colton McKivitz. But what you can't see is Brock Purdy can't step up. He's got to try to escape the pocket because of Ben Bartch. Both of them lost in that situation, and that's why you get the 14-yard sack that ends up hurting the 49ers. But Colton McKivitz is going to have problems all year against guys who bring speed, pressure off the edge. So 49ers are going to have to continue to find ways to chip and help and give looks where they can move the pocket. One of the ways they can do that is, stay out of third and long, be more effective on first and second, stay ahead of the chains. Those types of things will help him out. But I don't think it's anything new for Colton McKivitz. He's going to frustrate you a little bit. I thought he was really good at the beginning of the season. I think he's kind of slowed down and kind of went back to what we've seen in the past. But it's going to be speed rushers with that element to put pressure on him around the edge that are going to consistently give him problems because he does worry about getting too far out on his skis, losing his weight, losing his balance, and then getting beat inside on a direct path to the quarterback. So that's something the 49ers are going to have to work on. It's a lot of offensive line talk, right? Left guard, center, right tackle. Those are concerns. And maybe it won't be as big a concern against Carolina this week. If you're going to bet with FanDuel, the 49ers are favored by 7 points. So it was 7 initially, it went to 6.5. Now it's back to 7. 49ers at minus 360 in the money line. And the over-under is at 48.5. And why do I say it might not matter? The Carolina Panthers, as far as pass rush uh, win rate is the 32nd best in the NFL right now. The only one that's even close to them is the 49ers. So maybe this will be a situation that helps Colton McKivitz, that he's not going to get a ton of pressure this week. So, if you want to bet, check out FanDuel. Lots of cool player props, same game parlays, all available if you use FanDuel. So that is a little bit about the offensive line. I'll say this: Dominic Puni has rounded into form. He does pretty well. I don't think it's as good as last year right now, but you could definitely see him progressing in the right direction. Trent Williams looks to be more healthy than we've seen. Stability at left guard is definitely on display, which is great because we're going to have some matchups coming up down the road that he's going to have his hands full. So it's going to be interesting for this 49ers offensive line. But just to say, those guys did really well in this game is important. Now, one guy I want to talk about is Ricky Pearsall, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities for him to get his hands on the ball. He only had one ball that he caught, and it was, for no gain. But Ricky Pearsall was looking pretty good on film. I watched his routes. There were some times when he normally would have been open where things were kind of designed up for him. And the Arizona Cardinals did some unique things on defense when it came to coverage. And Brock Purdy did some really good things. So I want to talk about Purdy and what he was capable of doing because there was some really good looks. Of course, there was some things that he struggled with. But Ricky Pearsall is just fine. He would have been open for a touchdown. There was another play. He got open on the corner route, but Brock Purdy read it perfectly, and they're rotating coverage over, and he hit Juwan Jennings on the backside on a nice little inside route, and it was a great read from Brock Purdy. So Ricky Pearsall looks good running his routes. He's going to be just fine. I thought his blocking was average in this game. I thought Kendrick Bourne's blocking was probably the worst of the wide receivers. So he's got to get a little bit better at it. But, it was definitely good to see. Now, the reason I want to talk about Brock Purdy a little bit is we talked about the effects that he had getting the ball vertically. Like, that's one of the things that he definitely did. What we didn't talk about was how quickly he was deciphering what the Arizona Cardinals defense was doing against him. The defensive coordinator, Nick Rallis, did some unique things in this game, including having looks where he would have like 3 or 4 guys, in the box, and pretty much everyone else at least 5 yards off. It was unique the way that he wanted to attack the 49ers. And the 49ers found ways to be effective. Now, there was always the plays, right? They dial it up and they figure it out. And they kind of slowed up the 49ers offense here and there. But for the most part, Brock Purdy was on point, going through and using the motions and shifts that Kyle Shanahan gave to decipher what he was going to look. Probably the most remarkable was the George Kittle touchdown where they ran Kyle Juszczyk in motion, and it revealed that the Arizona Cardinals were playing a cover 1. And so he knew he was going to get man coverage, the linebacker one-on-one with George Kittle. The linebacker was running inside leverage on the play. He was playing inside because he had to play the run. And so George Kittle was just going to run towards him, set him up, and then run that route to the side or to the pylon. And all Brock Purdy had to do was hold the safety in the middle of the field. And so the recognition, though, of what he was going to do was pivotal. There's another play later in the game where Kyle Juszczyk moves and he's going in motion, and Brock Purdy sees what he wants to see. He cans the play. The Arizona Cardinals adjusted right away, and he reloaded the play. And he ends up running a screen pass to George Kittle that is literally a Dominic Puni effective block away from being a huge play. I mean, the amount of open field for George Kittle on that play was going to be huge. Dominic Puni just couldn't quite hold Cody Simon long enough in his block. Jake Brendel blocked nobody. He was wandering around. That was one of the another frustrating play. But Spencer Burford was out there. He was going to block someone because there was nobody within 10 yards of Cody Simon. That's how open this play was going to be. So I love that mastery of understanding when to get the guys in and out of certain looks, being willing to can plays, reload plays, do whatever you got to do to get into the right play. And I thought that was very important in this game. So Brock Purdy's cerebral, right? And you look at that touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey points to his head and looks at Brock Purdy, and he's telling him, hey, way to use your head. This is Christian McCaffrey's acknowledgement of Brock Purdy recognizing what he's looking at and being able to find him. Would another quarterback have found Christian McCaffrey so quickly? I don't know. But Brock Purdy is able to do that. There's a confidence with Brock Purdy, but a knowledge of the system that really helps. So I thought the cerebral part of the game for Brock Purdy was on point even more than the physical. And I think that is something that is probably immeasurable right now for the 49ers, is they're going to see unique looks the rest of the season as they go against these different teams. I mean, we're 2 weeks away from the 49ers battling the Cleveland Browns, and what Jim Schwartz usually does to Kyle Shanahan. And it was just a couple years ago that Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense struggled mightily in Cleveland. What will it look like now in the return? 49ers got to come in there and go against Myles Garrett and a really good defense. How will they hold up? Well, it's probably going to be a lot more effective with Brock Purdy at the helm this time compared to last time. He has a better hold over what this offense does. But I also believe that Kyle Shanahan understands more now than ever what defenses are trying to do to him. He figured out what Jonathan Gannon, what Nick Rallis were trying to do really quickly, and were able to adjust and execute. And they were getting some unique looks, some extra safeties on the field. Like I said, they were catching them, in these deep looks where they had like 4 guys deep. They would have no linebackers in the box. It was unique, but they were highly effective against it. And I think it was huge. And that's one of the big things that I took away from this game was Kyle Shanahan understanding what to do and what to call. And it was extremely effective, whether it was the run calls, the pass calls. He just kept them off balance. He gave Brock Purdy some easy reads, some level throws. He gave him a lot of motions and shifts to reveal what the defense was doing. And I thought that was pivotal, and that's going to be much needed moving forward. Now, I want to flip the script to the defensive side of the ball, because one of the question marks, and I think it rang true in this game, is the defensive pass rush. And getting Bryce Huff is very important, right? Getting him back. And we're seeing the offensive football teams paying attention to Bryce Huff. And Bryce Huff is still getting near the quarterback, right? 3 pressures. But he is getting more attention now than ever before. They look at Bryce Huff, and he's the legitimate pass rusher for the 49ers. The problem is the other guys just aren't able to consistently generate pressure. So Keon White so far, hit and miss, hasn't been able to get home. How much will he improve, right? Learning this system from Chris Kasarik, you're hoping it's going to be a lot. I think that they didn't have one of their best pass rushers in Cleveland Farrell available. They decided to go with Robert Beal Jr. in this game. And why did they decide to go with Robert Beal Jr. over Cleveland Farrell? They were expecting the Arizona Cardinals to try to establish a run game. I think everyone did. I know I did. I expected the Arizona Cardinals to come in and say, okay, we're going to get things going on the ground. And that's exactly what Arizona did. Extra offensive linemen on the field in their first drive. They were trying to get things going with Bam Knight and, DeMarcado, and really kind of take control of this football game on the ground. Now, the problem was they never really got their ground game going. And that's why I said in my Wild Ass Bowl predictions that I thought the 49ers would hold the Arizona Cardinals under 75 yards in this game, because I thought Robert Saleh was going to be very aggressive, and he was. He went to some single high safety looks, brought Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa in the box, and tried to take away the Cardinals' run game and put the pressure on Jacoby Brissett. Now, Brissett answered the call. He did a really good job throwing for over 450 yards. Problem was, Cardinals couldn't get out of their own way, and then the 49ers executed when they had to, when it came to making tackles and keeping the Cardinals, off the field. So they were able to make plays there. They were able to create some interceptions that definitely generated opportunities. But this pass rush is a concern for the 49ers. I think that there are some bright spots. You talk about Bryce Huff. I think Kalia Davis also might have earned himself some extra snaps when it comes to maybe some of these pass rush looks. He is the best penetrating defensive lineman from the interior the 49ers have right now. They're playing Keon White on the inside, which I like. I like that idea. He's a guy that played 5-tech in college, and I think that really is something he should get better and better at. But I like Kalia Davis and what he's able to do inside a lot more than some of the other guys. They've been giving Alfred Collins a little bit more spin. Jordan Elliott used to be a guy that could win on the inside consistently. But I think that the evidence, the 49ers were focused more on run defense compared to pass defense had to be more, couldn't be more evident than who they had active. Kevin Givens also inactive. They went with CJ West. That's a better run stopper. Kevin Givens, the better pass rusher. On the outside, Cleveland Farrell, they choose Robert Beal Jr. over him. And so I think that there's some evidence that that's what they were thinking. And it worked, right? They stopped the run. They did give up some in the pass, but when you look at the scoreboard, it works out. So I think it was a Robert Saleh philosophy. He was also willing to play off. And I think partly because Jacoby Brissett the week before against Seattle only completed 50% of his passes. They probably didn't think he was going to be effective enough without the wide receivers that they were going to be missing, without some of the offensive linemen that they were going to be missing. And so they put an emphasis on stopping the run. They did that. And so I think that they felt comfortable with that. But they play off, and this pass rush isn't able to generate enough pressure. This is one concern for the 49ers moving forward. Now, when will Yetur Gross-Matos come back? Will it be right after, his time on the IR is up? Will he be ready to go? He could be huge for this pass rush, a great addition, because I do believe Yetur Gross-Matos would add a lot with him and Keon White on the inside, with Okuwanu and Bryce Huff. That could generate a lot more pass rush. So it's not like you don't have an opportunity, but I do think that maybe Kalia Davis should get some more opportunities rushing the passer. I think that he's done a lot better, and he had 3 pressures in this game. He did a good job, and so that is something to kind of look at moving forward. Kalia Davis trending in the right direction, also had some really good plays and penetration up the field. I think that he right now is the best defensive lineman the 49ers have, and I think it can be argued that Alfred Collins is the second best defensive lineman the 49ers have right now. Jordan Elliott kind of needs to pick up his game. He's getting pushed around a little bit too much in the run, not quite getting home when it comes to rushing the passer, which usually he has some more plays that he generates pressure and creates havoc in the backfield. 49ers safeties. And, Malik Mustafa made a big play to get the interception. It was not a great throw by Jacoby Brissett. It wasn't a great, route combination that they were running there. I think the 2 guys for Arizona kind of created an opportunity for the 49ers because of how close they were in their routes. But Malik Mustafa made a play. And I thought that Jair Brown did good tackling. There were a couple of weeks where he did, and you're like, ooh, okay. And then there were some weeks that you had some concerns about his tackling. But I thought he did a pretty good job in this game. It wasn't perfect. There were a couple times where he should have been around, some plays that were negated because of penalty that would have fell on Jair Brown. So right now, the play at safety is still a little bit concerning. I think Malik Mustafa is starting to trend in the right direction. I don't think we've seen the Malik that we saw last year, but I think he needs time. He didn't have training camp. He needed time to kind of get back in the swing of things. And so I think the next 2 weeks are going to be pivotal to see who Malik Mustafa is going to be. I did like that Marquis Siegel's active. Maybe we can see Marquis Siegel start working in a little bit. I liked how they used Jason Pinnock in the big nickel. I thought that he did a good job, especially against the run. And so you're kind of expecting these secondary players to give up some passing yards and numbers, but they've got to get more consistent with tackling. If you tell me they're going to give up some yards, but they're going to make tackles, I'm okay with that. If you're telling me they're going to give up those yards, but they're also not going to make tackles, I have real concerns about the safety position. So right now, the safety room is not as consistent as it needs to be. But let's see. Maybe Jair Brown, maybe this is a turning point for him where he's going to be a lot better at tackling. Maybe Malik Mustafa is rounding into form and the 49ers can start getting a little bit more production from safety, because right now it feels like they're protecting those safeties a lot. I think that's a smart move from Robert Saleh. They're not allowing anything really deep and vertical explosive. Michael Wilson did have the big play down the sideline. I have to say this. I thought Upton Stout had really good coverage on that play, and it took a really good throw and a really good catch to beat him, and I thought that he did a good job. So I don't have as much problems with Upton Stout as I think other people do. I think that he's competing at a high level. He's just a rookie. He's going to continue to have mistakes. He's going to continue to make big plays. We've seen him, the last time the 49ers played the Cardinals, he got the ball out of Zay Jones's hands on what would have been a game-clinching throw from Kyler Murray to Zay Jones, and he got rid of the ball. In this game, he pulled the ball out of Elijah Higgins' hands and got the ball to the ground. So he's not consistent, but he is a playmaker, and I think that's something the 49ers like. And then the last one I want to talk about on defense is right now the linebackers in coverage is struggling a little bit. And I wonder if there's going to see a little bit of improvement with Curtis Robinson taking over for Tatum Bethune. He's a little bit bigger, longer. You can kind of put him in some situations you put Fred in. And I'm not saying he's Fred. I'm just saying he can probably handle a little bit more of those roles. I think that could take a little bit of pressure off D. Winters, who I thought D. Winters bounced back in a major way. I thought that he's had a couple of games where he struggled. I thought this was one of his better games. He was a lot more consistent, only 2 missed tackles. He was flying around. He was making tackles and making tackles in space. So I thought this was a good game for D. Winters. They need him to consistently play well. I think Curtis Robinson will probably help a little bit when it comes to pass coverage. And then I wonder what they do with Nick Martin. How much does Nick Martin affect what they're able to do defensively? There were a couple of plays where maybe he didn't sag as far in coverage as he should have. Those are going to be things that they're going to work on. But the athleticism, the dynamics from Nick Martin are definitely important. And how about that 2-point conversion play? Luke Gifford comes up and he's making the play from Mike linebacker, and he's about to lose him. And all of a sudden, Nick Martin just comes through and absolutely cleans him up. Those are the types of things I love. I love the fact that he played 14 plays and he had 7 tackles on those 14 plays. The guy finds the football. And I think as long as he can get the mental part of this game down, he's going to be a real problem. So that's something to watch. That's something trending in the right direction. But this was, upon further review, the 49ers versus the Arizona Cardinals. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section down below of the game. What are your feelings on, the offensive line and the safety play? I'm really curious about the pass rush. Let me know, and we'll continue to talk it out. But 49ers play on Monday night, so it's going to be a lot of fun content this week. Check it all out. Breakdowns available over on Patreon. Right now, offensive first half available. There'll be more coming your way. A new Ant Hill show available also tonight. We're going to be recording later on tonight, so that'll be available as well. If you want to get a standalone episode of the Ant Hill show, that will be available. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.